Stephen Hoffman, thank you for giving us an interview for the Starlight Peace Project. The first question I have for you is, what does no violence mean to you?
To me, no violence is the next level in our society. If you could take violence out of society today, it would put us at a whole nother level that I don't think we've ever truly reached. When I picture no violence, the society is just completely different. We don't have the violence in the schools. We don't have people jumping to violence as a first choice when faced with anger or hostility towards each other.
Very well said, Stephen. So, to let the audience get a clearer idea and picture of who you are as a human being, I'm going to ask you a series of questions and get in detail as far as who you are. So the first question, or second question I have actually is, how do you define yourself?
I would define myself with words like probably shy, quiet, kind, not quite outgoing, but willing to be outgoing in certain situations. Definitely a little having a brain fart. But yeah, those are the words I would use.
We're live. No worries, Stephen. The whole world's watching this. Well, actually, we're pre-recorded, but it's okay. No worries. So, the next question I have is, where did you grow up, and how does it relate to your past violence experience?
I grew up in New Mexico and Arizona in smaller suburb areas to where violence wasn't really something I saw other than in TV, what the news showed, and the few violent car accidents I saw. But other than that, violence was mostly in my life just limited to what I saw on television, read in books, or the news chose to show that day.
Who would you like your message of no violence to reach? Like, what target audience would you like to reach?
Right now, with the way the world is, my target audience would have to be kids. We have too much violence going on in the schools that they're the ones I think that we need to reach first, because they are also the next generation of adults. So if we could get them to stop now, then it helps us later. But everybody, I believe, should take it into consideration. But the kids right now are the target.
Why does your idea of no violence resonate with you?
Just because it's a society I think we all deserve to live in. A society without the violence would bring about more peace and friendship amongst people, to where I think the differences wouldn't be so noticed. And it's definitely something I try to live by with no violence. I'd rather talk out any differences, and I mean, it's something we should all look forward to pushing for.
When did you first hear of the Starlight Peace Project?
In the focus group meeting, it was brought up, and we discussed it for quite some time, and right away I was on board with it and thought it would be a cool thing to do. I just hoped that we had no trouble getting it done and accomplished, but we had enough people helping us and backing us to push for it that we all worked together, and it came out pretty well.
Hey, Stephen, have you ever promoted no violence before? And if so, how?
Not on a scale like this. The only times I've ever really promoted the no violence is when I've been around people that have kind of started to bump heads and start to argue, and you get that feeling that violence is where they're headed. I've tried to intervene and kind of calm the situation down with humor or anything that I could, and then just kind of get them talking. And you realize a lot of times that they're both mad at the same thing, not each other, but at the same issue, and they kind of calm each other down. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but if you can talk things out, a lot of times I think that can pull you away from the violence and put you on a path of friendship.
So what would you like to promote as an alternative to violence for members in the community right now who may be asking, oh, Steven is nervous, everybody. We got this. You ready, Steven? All right. So, again, what would you promote as an alternative to violence for members in the community right now?
As I've mentioned before, the talking it out for me has always been something that's helped. Any time growing up that I had that issue, an issue of anger between anybody or debates or anything, talking has always been something that's helped me. I know it can't be that way for everybody, but I think if more people were to give it a try, you connect with the person that you're about to swing on or possibly pull a gun on or whatever the violent act might be that you're leading toward. Talking can a lot of times bring down that violence and help you to realize you guys are more alike than you think. And
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And those small differences that might have started the issue are actually irrelevant to the situation at hand.
Yeah, now Steven has me a little nervous. Yeah. All right. So the next question I'd ask you is, would you promote something different for no violence in the prison setting, knowing that this is typically a pretty violent environment? How would it differ from what you promote to members of the community?
Honestly, no. I still, anytime around here, come across the violence in front of me. Talking is something that I've always pushed for, because a lot of times people choose not to talk, and later when you hear them talking about their sides of it to different individuals, you can piece it together and realize just how much they agreed with each other actually, and how they felt the same issues were the cause of the problem. To where even in here with the violence that takes place, talking a lot of times can still correct the situation and keep you from getting yourself into further trouble or doing something that you may later regret.
Okay, now we come to the final, most important question, right? You're standing in an auditorium in front of 1 million people. 1 million people don't fit in the auditorium, but they got you on Skype. They got you on, what's the new thing that follows you around the kitchen? Oh, Steven. I don't remember. We see the commercials. Oh, it's on Facebook? Well, I'm sure members of the community know what we're talking about. So you're being followed around the stage right now in front of 1 million viewers, and we'll say 200 people in the auditorium watching you. What final message would you like to deliver to them on no violence? Let's make it passionate. Let's make the world shake with this. Let's go, Steven.
Thank you for putting me in the limelight. What I would tell them is the next time they find themselves in a situation where they see violence coming to the front or their anger is just boiling, take a breath, back up a little bit, look at it from a different direction maybe, but try to talk. Try to just calm yourself, and instead of yelling at the person or cussing at the person, be like, look, let's sit down and discuss this in a different style. There's no reason to get personal with this. Let's just figure out what's upsetting you, what's upsetting me.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And I guarantee you'll probably find that the two of you are on the same page, and that the two of you could actually become friends rather than enemies in the end.
That was Steven Hoffman. This interview was brought to you by Portal. Now, I finally thought of the the Facebook Portal. We're not actually brought to you by Facebook Portal. We're probably brought to you by the Starlight Peace Project at Facebook and Instagram. Please follow us. Thank you.